there, everyone. Mary Cristelli from PCC Wellness and Recreation for another series of Wellness Where You Are. I apologize about a couple weeks ago. Had to cancel. I wasn't feeling well, so didn't want to share anything with anybody. So that's why we missed a couple weeks ago. So I apologize for that, but I appreciate understanding and patience with it. So we'll do the lesson we had planned for then. So tonight we're going to talk about balance and stability. And one thing that we notice a lot is that younger folks don't do a whole lot of intentional balance and stability training, but it's really important for everybody. There's a common thought, and it's true, that older adults, so that would be people who are in the midlife is what it's considered, so 40s, but even up into 60s and 70s and 80s, that it's really important for those individuals to have some balance and stability training, just because it helps reduce the risk of injury. So it's really key in fall prevention work, but that anybody of any age, really, that it's beneficial for everybody. So the younger we start implementing and incorporating balance and stability training into our physical fitness routine, the better we'll be off longer term, because we'll build up all of that muscle memory, that joint stability, that joint memory and everything, rather than getting to a later point in life and realizing, oh no, I need to really focus on this. So it's never too late to start. If you haven't incorporated that in, there's no time like the present. It's not too late to try it now. It may feel a little bit more unnerving, or you might feel a little uneasy about it, especially if you've fallen before or you're really concerned about it. But there are lots of ways that we can do this in a safe and healthy way. So some benefits, of course, to balance and stability training, certainly if you're an athlete, is that it can help increase your performance, because what it does is having good stability, good balance is really that is generated from our core. So a strong core is going to provide a stable anchor for our arms and our legs. And it helps improve our performance overall, because it just gives us an ability to move fluidly. So it increases the fluidity of the movement through an entire joint. It also can reduce pain. Again, like I said earlier, reduce injury risk and help prevent falls or make things feel a little less, it can help us heal a little faster sometimes. It also improves our posture. It can improve our coordination, and it also improves our strength. And so there are various ways that we can incorporate balance and stability training into our physical fitness routines, whatever that looks like for us. So if you lift weights, you do any sort of strength training, you can do, we call it unilateral movement. So that would be single-sided stuff, but that would be on one leg. So we'd be standing on one leg, doing like a lunge, a moving lunge. We call these step-through lunges, so where you're swinging your leg back and forth. The balance and stability is coming from this. This is my right leg, so we'd want to balance it out on both sides. And so we can do this in strength training. You can do things like holding a weight. You could do single leg bicep curls, overhead presses, passes back and forth. So if you're doing strength training, doing some single leg stuff will really help increase your balance and your stability through your legs. Some other areas we see a lot of balance and stability training is within yoga, Tai Chi, martial arts, Pilates. And so the Pilates is really coming from the core. The yoga, it's really helping build a strong, stable core. So those are some other areas that we're going to see that. So if you are an older adult and you're wanting to incorporate more balance and stability training into your fitness routine, your exercise routine, and lifting weights doesn't sound like your deal, and you watch me do step-through lunges and are thinking, no, thank you, that is not for me at all. That makes me nervous. That there are lots of different ways. So trying Tai Chi, there are lots of videos online. I'm not aware of any classes that we have in Pueblo currently, but you can always look to see if we have any of those. Yoga, if you enjoy martial arts and that's something you've done before, you can do that, as well as Pilates. So those would be some good options if you're wanting to branch out on your own and kind of figure out, what could I do for myself? What we're going to do is I'm going to go through a few movements that you can do on your own at home that will help increase your balance and your stability. So I do have some props here with me this evening. I've got some chairs because sometimes we need a little bit of extra help. I was going through this routine earlier today and I was just like, Well, we're all going to see some honest stuff tonight because I was feeling a little unstable on my left leg. My balance on my right leg is sometimes much better than my left. So when you are doing balance and stability training, you may notice with any type of stuff, flexibility, strength, that one side of your body might feel stronger than the other. And that is pretty common. So that's why when we do this unilateral one side stuff, that's why it's important to incorporate that stuff, is because it forces us to work through that one side without compensating. So sometimes if we're doing bilateral, meaning both sides, we'll overcompensate on our stronger or more stable side. So we want to do some one-sided stuff to help balance out whatever that is we're working. And so tonight it's going to be balance and stability. So before I get started with the movements, I do want to say that, like I mentioned earlier, is having a strong, stable core is what's really important to good balance and solid stability. The type of anchor that our arms and legs are attached to is really what's going to drive that movement and help keep us stable. So if you're doing any sort of core training, that is going to help increase that functionality within that type of fitness. So we want to have a nice, strong, stable core. So we are going to do a few core exercises. I'll show you some of those. But just some typical balance stuff. I have a chair here. If you need a chair, a wall, anything for some sort of the word is escaping me, comfort, security, that this can be here just in case you start to wobble around. It's totally okay. If you're wanting to not have that, you want to be able to not use this, you don't have any sort of thing to hold on for that security. I'm sorry, the words are not coming to me this evening. If you want to if you don't have something to hold on to, that's okay. I'll show you some modifications for how to do some of these things. So this little chair I'm going to use for my gauge on this one, and I just call it like a single leg, like kick over, like step over. I'm not going to be stepping actually over it. I'm just going to be moving my leg back and forth over it. I'm using a higher target. You might start with something a little bit lower down to the ground. So you could we've got this like paper holder here. That's a little bit lower. Just go with whatever's comfortable for you. So the way that when we're doing this one, that we know that it's a good, like a healthy height for us, is we're looking for mobility through our hip, where we're coming straight up and straight over, okay? So if I have to swing my leg, then my target is too high. So then I would want to lower it down. Maybe I would put a baseball or something, and I would start there just until I don't. So if I'm having to put my knee out to the side or rotate my foot to get it over, I just want to come straight up and straight over. All right, so this would be one, very low key. You could do this while you're watching TV or stirring some food. All right, so you can do just front to back. All right, that's one. You want to do about 3 to 5 on each leg. You can do this a few times, 2 or 3 times through, but then you'll do the other as well. Okay, so you're just coming up and over. And the more mobility you get through this hip, and the more stable you feel on this, so I'm on my right side, and the more stable you feel on your left side, the higher you'll be able to make that target until eventually you're going up and over something much higher like that. Now, if you're taller, you may have higher up targets just because your legs are further off the floor. So that's one exercise that we can do. I'm going to move these out of the way. Another one, and again, if you need your chair to hang on to, totally cool, is you want to come out to the side. So I'm just going to raise my leg out to the side. If you were doing some resistance training, you could put some bands around your legs, and that would add some strength training to it. Okay, so we're going to just out to the side, standing solid on that leg, making sure that we're not raising our hip up and dropping it down or anything. Just we're really focusing on keeping solid. So if we're starting to wobble around, no problem. All right. Another one is that we want to work through our different things, so we can just come in a circle. I've got my leg straight, but you can bend your knee if you want. My moving leg, not my straight leg. Okay, so we're going to come like that. Now, if you're like, I don't want to hang on to the wall or a chair or anything, I want to try this without any sort of props to help. You can just tap that foot lightly on the floor, okay? Just like a clock. So we're going, this is like a half of a clock. So I'm going from back here, I'm at 6, I'm at 3, coming up, I'm at 12, okay? So just, you can tap that foot on the floor if you don't feel so super solid, keeping that, see, it's my right leg that is really, that's like that. Another one is doing a single leg deadlift is what the movement is. And when I do these in my class, what I do is I take a foam roller is actually what I use, but you could use a box, a coffee table, a step stool, like a small step stool, anything really for a target. And what we're doing is, I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to start and I'm just going to stand. I'm standing on my right leg. I'm bending over and I'm tapping that. And I'm bending just a little bit and tapping it. Once I feel really comfortable, then I'm going to shoot for a lower target. All right. So then I'm going to come down a little bit further because I've grown that strength through that movement. I've grown that stability on that side, and I'll come down further. Eventually, oh, my bad. What we're aiming for is coming all the way to the floor. Okay. But we want to start out feeling successful. So pick a target that feels possible, a little bit challenging, and that's what you can do using those things. Again, a shoebox, a water bottle, a chair, a step stool, coffee table, just whatever you've got around the house that you can do. You could even, never mind, I was going to say make marks on the wall. Don't make marks on the wall. Never mind. So that's a single leg deadlift. Another one, and this is going to get more of our upper body involved, is an overhead pass. So I've got a box of tissues here. You can use anything, a book. I'm going to stand on my left leg, just lifting my right foot up off the floor. Again, if you're not going to hold on to anything, you can put about 10% of your weight on that right foot. I've got 90% of my body weight on my left foot, 10% on the right foot, or I'm going to come up and I'm just going to alternate passing this overhead. You don't need to use a heavy weight because, again, we're not really looking for that upper body strength here. We're looking for that stability and that balance through that standing leg. Okay, so that's another thing that you could do. Again, these are all really low key. They're not high intensity things you can do while you're watching TV, getting ready, that kind of stuff. So even while you're brushing your teeth, you can do some lateral. I mean, that was really going to test you, but you could do some of these things while you're doing just basic things around the house. Now, for some core work, we're going to want to work a few things. So this is a rotational lunge. You can have this back knee down on the floor if you like. Where we're going to challenge some of our stability is we're going to bring that back knee up off the floor, and we're just going to rotate from left to right. Okay, so we're coming half circle in front. Do that 3 to 5 times on one leg. Again, you can have that back knee down, but to really challenge yourself, you're going to come up. Okay. Again, 3 to 5 on that side. And then we'll get more into some plain core work. So the first thing is a side plank hold. And this is going to work your obliques, which are your abdominal muscles that run in a twisting motion on your abdominals and your abs. So you can do this a couple of ways. You can have your forearm down on the floor. Let's start up. So the full movement is going to be this. And really you want your hips stacked. So we don't want to be open up toward the ceiling. We also don't want to be falling down toward the floor. Parallel with the wall in front of me. If that puts a lot of pressure on your shoulder, you can come down in your forearm on the floor. That would be another way to hold this side plank. If you're like, I can do either of those with my upper body, that's fine, but the core piece is still not there. What you would do is you'd take this top leg, plant that foot flat on the floor, and you'd use that to help hold your hips up off the floor. My bad, I almost fell. So then you'd hold this 10 seconds is fine. You come back down, flip over, do the opposite side. So that's a side plank hold. Then we have a bridge pose, which is going to work our lower back. So the way we set up for this is I've got my feet flat on the floor, and I extend my arms out and bring my heels to where they touch my fingertips. That's how I know that my feet are in the right position near my body. And then you're going to tilt your pelvis. So I like to imagine that I have some suspenders attached to the bottom of my rib cage and my hip bone. And right now I've got this little spot in my low back where I can kind of push it, like slide my hand underneath on the floor because my pelvis is tilted. So I'm going to roll my pelvis toward my face and tighten up those suspenders, and then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll my hips up into the air and squeeze my glutes together. And that is also going to activate the muscles along your spine. So you can lay there, you can sit here and you can hold this. So sometimes we'll snuggle our shoulders underneath, clasp our hands together, or you can do repetitions, just whatever feels best to you. But again, we're coming from this, our pelvis is tilted away down toward our feet. I'm going to rock it toward my face, lift my hips up into the air. You want to lift your chin towards your chest and then your chest up to the ceiling so that we're not tucked in like that, closing off our airway. So that's a bridge pose. You can do repetitions where it would just be, there's 1, 2, or you can just come up and hold it 10, 15, 20 seconds, whatever feels most comfortable to you. So that's the bridge pose. The last core movement, the last movement we'll show for this evening is, they're called dead bugs. And I think they're fun. My definition of fun is different than other people's. So you might think, oh, Mary, that's odd, but it's okay. So I've got my feet up in the air. My legs are straight. I've got the soles of my feet as though I'm standing on the ceiling. And I'm going to take my hands and I just have them palms facing each other. I'm going to lower my right foot and my left arm out and then pull them back and alternate. Left foot out, right arm out. I have to think a lot sometimes when I do these, especially when I'm starting, to make sure that I'm getting them in the correct way. So you can do alternating single leg that way, or if you're really wanting to get crazy with things, you can do both. This is a little bit more challenging. So those are dead bugs. So those last 3 movements that we did are core specific. And again, we want to have a solid core for lots of things. I mean, having a strong core really helps with our posture. It helps with all movements. All of our movements are generated from our core. And so just having a strong core is really helpful overall to the functionality of our body. But those last 3 ones were specific to the core because we want to have a nice, stable anchor. I mean, a lot of people like to have nice abs because of the aesthetics, the look of it, but really having strong abdominal muscles is really, really beneficial in a lot of ways because it provides, again, that stable connection point for our limbs. The first portion of that was all balance, stability stuff that's really going to challenge that leg stability and stuff. So if you're brand new to this, you've never done it before, if you have an injury or anything like that, I do recommend reaching out to a physician to make sure with any sort of new movement that you want to talk to a doctor, a physician, just to make sure that it's safe and okay for you. If you do have an injury that's been nagging you, I would recommend talking to a physical therapist or another medical health professional to kind of help assess that, to make sure that everything's okay before you jump into something new. I don't want you to get more injured or re-injure anything, but if you're feeling good and you're like, yeah, I think this is important to me, it is important to everybody, but if it's something that you're interested in, I really do recommend adding some balance and stability training into your exercise program. Doing it a couple times a week, if this is not something that you need to do every single day. We want to give all of our body a rest in all the different ways. We wouldn't work our biceps every single day, so we don't want to do that with our balance and stability, but a few times a week would be really helpful. The library does have Tai Chi videos, so I recommended Tai Chi as one of those options. So the library does have Tai Chi videos. Contact your local librarian. The folks here at the Lucero branch are really fabulous, as I'm certain all of the librarians all throughout Pueblo are. But so reach out to those folks, ask them for some help, check out those videos if you're interested. I hope that you have a really great next couple of weeks. I'll be back in a few. Take it easy.